And now for more on the activists who were on board the Global Sumud Flotilla and were detained, let's now bring in Melanie Schweizer. She's a steering committee member for the Global Sumud Flotilla, and she joins us now virtually for the latest developments. Melanie, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, let's start off here. Just earlier this week, we saw reports coming in that those on board the Global Sumud Flotilla, they had been intercepted by the Israeli Navy. Maybe just give us the latest developments when it comes to those who have been detained.
Yes, thank you very much. They have been illegally and arbitrarily detained and are being held against their will in Israel, where they never intended to go. So, and they are being kept in quite dire conditions. So we have heard from our lawyers that are representing the participants that they have not have sufficient access to water. And to food, and in part water was also, it was not clean water. And furthermore, so the conditions overall are quite challenging for the participants. Today, actually, the very first participants have been deported. Around 137 members have been deported to Istanbul, Turkey. It was a wide range of nationalities. There were Turkish members, of course, but also Malaysian, Pakistani, UK citizen, Italian citizens. And they are the ones who have been signing the voluntary departure document that Israel is distributing amongst them.
And maybe... All right, you can continue.
Yes, the rest is still in custody, and we have now heard from the ones that came out very concerning testimonies about physical violence, torture, abuse.
And Melanie, I mean, when it comes to those who have still been detained, why is the process taking so long for them to be deported and released?
So right now there are sequences of holidays in Israel which didn't keep them from intercepting illegally the ships in international waters, which amounts to a very serious violation of international law. However, it keeps them now from presenting them in front of a judge for a hearing. So Israel is accusing them of entering the country illegally, which they never wanted in the first place. They have been forced there and abducted and basically taken hostage to Israel. But they are being accused of trespassing and entering that country where they have been abducted to. And usually under Israeli law, there are 72 hours in which the periods it must be processed. But now with all the holidays coming up that have been on Friday, today, and then there are another one on Monday and Tuesday, it's going to be very much prolonged, the whole process, and they are being deprived of their liberties, of course.
I mean, Melanie, on Monday, we saw US President Donald Trump, of course, iron out his 20-point peace plan, and just more recently, Hamas has agreed to part of that peace plan. What does this mean then for this project which is underway to ensure that aid gets to the people of Gaza? What does it mean for this initiative?
Well, we and the whole initiative, it's a civilian humanitarian initiative taking on the responsibilities and the burdens that international states have, and that of course Israel has in the first place, even though it is being confirmed by the International Court of Justice, the highest court in the world, that the blockade of the Gaza Strip is illegal and the whole occupation of Palestine is illegal. Israel, as an illegal occupation power, still has the obligation to deliver food and aid to its population, which they stubbornly deny. And especially since the beginning of the year, since March, it's very dreadful, very horrific situation. So by whatever means, and that's why the mission and we were sailing towards the Gaza Strip to deliver desperately needed food, and merely in a symbolic way, because we don't have the means with these civilian ships to bring sufficient amounts of food. So but regarding Trump's plan, we have heard very concerning overall statements and surroundings around it, and it's a very much colonial project plan, so it's very worrisome. But in the end, of course, what is desperately needed is humanitarian goods and items to the Gaza Strip so that a total catastrophe can be prevented, which is already unfolding for the last 2 years.
And Melanie, I mean, earlier on in the interview, you spoke about, the conditions in which those activists who were detained and intercepted, the way in which they were treated by the Israeli Navy. Will you be taking any action as the Global Sumud Flotilla when it comes to the activists who say that some of their rights were violated in the process when this flotilla was intercepted?
Absolutely. We are already preparing the steps together with the Hind Raja Foundation to prosecute the state of Israel for seizing and stealing the vessels that they have been bringing to Israel and de facto stealing. And then, of course, we are collecting every single testimony of the people who have been held and abused and mistreated in Israeli prisons. We will bring a case against this. Of course, this is not going to go in impunity, as so many things as we know from the IOF. We know that this army is very well known for horrific treatment of the Palestinians, for very, very serious and horrible human rights violations, for torture to death. And the prison where these participants have been brought, it's notoriously known for being a torture camp where Palestinians have been tortured to death already. And so the first testimonies that we heard from participants, of course, we still need to collect each and all of them and present them to the lawyers, so this can be officially documented. But hearing things like questions from IOF soldiers where the people are, and when they answered with "we're in Palestine," they have been heavily beaten, and some were even reporting that they have broken ribs and broken arms from this abusive, violent treatment and torture.
All right, Melanie, thank you so much for your time and for that update. That's Melanie Schweizer. She's a steering committee member from the Global Sumud Flotilla. They're just giving us the latest developments when it comes to those who have since been released and deported.